For the first time, CBS has primetime weeknight football starting this Thursday night as the Pittsburgh Steelers travel to Baltimore to take on the AFC North rival Ravens. That always a good tussle between those two teams. And it's on CBS, the first of 8 Thursday night games on CBS and News Channel 5 coming up this fall. We're certainly excited about that. You can never have too much NFL football in general, and certainly not on your air if you're a television station or a television network. Our next guest is someone you probably know, Nashville TV of the past, but also perhaps her work on Inside Edition, and now she is the newest correspondent for CBS News Path around the country, talking about Thursday Night Football, the big new acquisition for the network. That is Megan Alexander. Megan, good evening. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Steve, good evening. I just pulled into Baltimore, just took the train from New York, arrived here in Baltimore, getting ready to cover the game this Thursday.
Not a bad commute for your first game from New York down to Baltimore, but this is a new role for you. How do you go from the set of Inside Edition to the sidelines of an NFL football game? Explain that for us.
Yes, well, in all honesty, the sideline reporter is Tracy Wolfson, who's incredible. She'll be the sideline reporter with Phil Simms and Jim Nance, obviously calling the game. My role will be to cover what this is in terms of an event, bringing the viewers to the stadium for the game, giving them a behind-the-scenes feel. Who is in the stadium? How are the fans feeling? You know, where's the craziest tailgate party? What's the backstory on these players? What's their wives doing? You know, there's so many stories, as you know, Steve, that we don't always get to when covering these games. And so I have covered the last 4 Super Bowls for Inside Edition, and that is really the way that our show, a news magazine show, covers the Super Bowl. We give you a little bit of everything, and when CBS brought me on board, that's what they want me to do, is give you, the behind-the-scenes feel of what this event will be, bring you to Thursday Night Football, which we are all so excited to be giving the viewers this fall.
You've done hard news. You've done the Inside Edition stuff. As you've mentioned, you've covered some sports before, the Super Bowls of the past. How is it different when you're inside the arena of sports and picking up some of those stories you were talking about?
Sure. Well, I'm thrilled because, this is the NFL. This is football. It doesn't get any bigger than that, in a sense, in America. And to be able to bring, sort of that human touch. Women, obviously, the fastest growing viewership for football and what the viewers want. And then in terms of how CBS is doing this, Steve, when CBS covered the Super Bowl in New Orleans a few years ago, normally we don't see the anchors on set unless it's a playoff game or it's the Super Bowl. But CBS is bringing the talent on location to all these games. So, for example, on Thursday, Jim Nance, Phil Simms, Tracy Wolfson from the NFL Network, Deion Sanders, Bill Cowher, they will all be there at the stadium, and I think it will really create that incredible atmosphere and that excitement, and that's what I'm hoping to show the viewers is CBS is blowing this up in a big way. They're pulling out all the stops.
Megan Alexander from CBS joins us here on the program. If you want to follow her on Twitter, at Megan Alexander 1. The number 1 is the way to do that, and that will be a great resource all the time, but especially for these Thursday night football games coming up this fall. CBS has the first 8 games of the Thursday night football package for the first time. Can you explain what the excitement is like at the network or now as you arrive in Baltimore ahead of this game on Thursday night?
Sure. Well, CBS, from when this deal went down with the NFL, they really said, the entire CBS company incorporation is behind this. You probably noticed on WTBS Channel 5 there in Nashville, some of the CBS programs. We've seen appearances, from some of the football players, from some of the analysts. I was talking to Phil Simms, and he had a stint on one of the dramas. They've really done a lot of cross-promotion in terms of getting everyone on board for Thursday Night Football, whether it's the morning news, the evening news, Inside Edition, all of the CBS shows. It's really the full court press, if you will, although that's the wrong sport, in terms of everybody being behind this. So I think you'll really see that on Thursday. Just a couple quick stats. I mean, to tell you what they're doing here, they're bringing in over 4,000 cameras to bring viewers different angles on the field, which we know, in today's day and age, playback is huge. Reviewing calls, reviewing plays, what actually went down. If there's an injury, you'll see over 4,000 cameras, and they'll really have that presence in the stadium and outside the stadium in terms of bringing the anchor desk to the people, getting the crowds involved, getting the fans there. It's going to be awesome, and everybody's excited about it, and I think we're hoping that you'll start your weekend with us on Thursday night. I think it's going to be a hit.
It's the best way to start your weekend is on Thursday night. That means it's a nice long weekend with a lot of football action. As you mentioned, Jim Nantz and Phil Simms, the A-team, calling the action with Tracy Wolfson on the sidelines. You're going to be busy, though. So explain. You get in tonight into Baltimore. The game's basically 48 hours from now. What will you do tomorrow and leading up to the game on Thursday, and then all your hits on Thursday evening?
Sure. Well, I'm actually pulling double duty tomorrow. I will be working for Inside Edition tomorrow, covering sort of the preparation as all of the live trucks roll in and the production crew, and they take over M&T Bank Stadium, and we all get ready. Obviously, September 11th on Thursday, the patriotic reverence that will be there, that will be present as we honor, the September 11th anniversary. It's also the 200th anniversary of the national anthem this year. So they've got some really cool military tributes planned. So tomorrow for Inside Edition, I'll be covering all of that, and then the CBS team will be rolling in and getting prepared. And then on Thursday, I will be doing live hits for all of the local CBS stations around the country, pretty much all day long, focusing more in the evening, pre-game and post-game reports, whatever the local CBS stations need. I will be their girl, and then, as you mentioned, live tweeting and involved with social media during the actual game on Thursday.
Megan, this game has been thrust even more into the spotlight this week by the video release of Ray Rice hitting his wife, Janae, or then fiancée Janae, in the elevator in Atlantic City back in February. How do you plan to address that non-football story, which has very much become a football story with the Ravens playing on Thursday night?
Certainly. Well, it is the headline. And, I mean, you look at this story, Steve, a Baltimore Ravens running back, a Super Bowl champion, a beloved player that makes a horrific and horrible decision and is now suffering the consequences. It's a tragedy. It's a top story. The past 2 days, everyone has been talking about this story, looking to the NFL to see how they're handling it, looking to the Ravens. And as you know, today it seems almost every hour we've had a new headline, whether it's NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell appearing on CBS Evening News, and he'll be on CBS This Morning tomorrow talking about the situation, and the Ravens as well and how they've responded. I think everyone has been so interested in the conversation behind this story and in taking the issue very seriously. And CBS has been right there with everyone else. It is a part of the conversation, and they will be looking to see how the Ravens come together as a team on Thursday without Ray Rice, and how the game goes down against, as you mentioned, this big-time rivalry with the Steelers.
It will be interesting to see how John Harbaugh and the Ravens respond. They were planning on a 2-game absence for Ray Rice coming into the season. That doesn't look like a running back core that was meant to go 16 games without a star like Ray Rice. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond for sure. Megan, you've got kind of an interesting perspective on this, because I think a lot of people have been surprised in the last 24 hours that TMZ was sort of the leading news agency on this story because they had the video. And if you remember back, TMZ had the Donald Sterling tape earlier this summer as well. As someone who's covered a lot of stories and broken stories at Inside Edition, kind of the similar, sometimes seedy ilk, I guess you would say, what is it about the non-traditional media that make them really good at covering these types of stories that maybe the traditional media isn't as good at?
Yeah, I think, Steve, the line is so blurred nowadays between traditional media and non-traditional media. I think Inside Edition is a great mix of it all. And even though TMZ uncovered this video, as you and I saw, every single media outlet has covered this story for the past 2 days and earlier when the first video came out. So I think in this age of 24-hour news, the urgency involved with, whether it's our phone, it's our tablet, it's our television, all the different ways that we can get information and news, I think there's a frantic energy there that drives the news cycle. But again, I also think the public's very interested in the private lives of public figures and what's going on. There's a hunger there to find out the story, and I think whether it's TMZ simply going after those particular types of stories, where more of the traditional media, as you mentioned, focusing on some of the serious, issues and stories of the day, whether it's, Iraq, Iran, politics, healthcare, that type of thing. I'm not exactly sure, but I think, again, I think that line is more blurred than it's ever been, and the public's interest in these stories.
The Steelers head to Baltimore for the Thursday night football game against the Ravens, the first Thursday night football as part of CBS's new Thursday night football package. Megan Alexander is covering it for CBS, also Inside Edition over the next couple of days. Megan, what do you know about the Steelers-Ravens rivalry there in the AFC North and how fierce these games often are?
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, Steve, I think I should be asking you that question.
Well, I can tell you a little bit, but I guess the better question is, are you prepared for the intensity and the crowd and the intensity around M&T Bank Stadium on Thursday night?
Yeah. Well, let me put it this way. In our production meeting on Monday, one of my producers suggested that I perhaps wear a referee outfit when I'm talking to the fans, because we were talking about how heated the exchanges are between the fans in terms of this rivalry and the competition between these two teams. So it sounds like, it's going to be there. It always has been there. And, listen, let's hope it's a good game. Let's hope that it's a really good game, not only for the teams, but also for the fans.
Usually these teams deliver when it comes to good games and deliver when it comes to hard hits. In some ways, they're probably happy that it's on Thursday night and they've got 10 days to recuperate and get ready for week 3 after this one. Megan, before I let you go, as someone who's covered a lot of different things in a lot of different arenas, what are you most excited about with this new challenge of being around Thursday night football?
Oh, gosh. My first Super Bowl that I covered 4 years ago, which was in Dallas, in that brand new stadium, I remember walking out on the field just with all the press. The energy that is there for these games, I'm just looking forward to being in that atmosphere, the excitement from the fans, the preparation that these players have gone through, some of them training their whole lives to be a part of this event. There's nothing like it, and I really hope that I can convey that to the viewers, that excitement and that energy. It is, football is part of the fabric of America, so there's nothing like it. As you know, Steve, it's going to be fun. It's an honor to be involved, and I'm really looking forward to it, especially as a female. It's going to be very cool to be there.
Megan, someone else who was at that Super Bowl in Dallas 4 years ago, being in the stadium was about the only thing good of that week, as cold and as icy as all those roads were.
Yeah, that was a very interesting Super Bowl. You're right. But wow, Jerry Jones. It's an opulent stadium, isn't it? It's his masterpiece.
Yeah, it is absolutely magnificent. M&T Bank's not bad either. They've got a very, very large jumbotron on both ends of the field that make viewing the game an interesting experience as well. So, Megan, thanks so much for your time tonight. Congratulations on the new gig, and we look forward to talking to you and seeing you from Baltimore over the next couple of days.
And hey, Steve, you and I both said there needs to be a Titans game in the schedule next year. I have a house in Nashville, and I'm a proud Titans fan, so we're crossing our fingers that I'll get on the list next year, right?
Exactly. Anytime we can get you back to Nashville in the middle of the week, I think that's probably a good thing. And it is too bad. We missed the Titans by 1 week on the back end, and you missed your hometown Seahawks by 1 week on the front end of the schedule.
I know it, but hey, it was a great game for the Titans. They're looking good already, so fingers crossed it's going to be a great year.
That was great. Well, Megan, thanks for the time tonight. Have fun.
Thanks, Steve. Take care.
Megan Alexander, CBS and Inside Edition. You can catch her on Twitter at MeganAlexander1. And definitely do that because she's got a lot of good stuff, football and otherwise related. So we got to take a break. We're running a little bit behind, but we will get back. More Titans talk and your phone calls if you want. 737-7767 is the number. Stay tuned. You're watching SportsLine on News Channel 5+.